on this computer. Okay, so this is the session for the African Flower Animal Project by Heidi Bears. For those of you who are coming later, let me pin myself here. Okay, and I need to post the video about actually making the shapes because I've been out of town and I haven't done it. So that video will go up as well. But this video, we're going to show how to join the shapes. And I think once you see how it works and how it relates to the pattern, there's a lot to the pattern. This is going to clarify it for you a little bit. So I'm going to share real quick a part of the pattern. So let me here share this. Okay, so this is the Jedi the giraffe pattern here, and it is, I think this particular one is like 39 pages long. Okay, there's a lot to it. So it gives you, and until you really read through the whole thing all the way through, and start to work on it, does it really start to say, oh, okay, that's what that means. So I'm hoping I can help you get to that part, that's what that means. So she's got directions, what you need to do, some tips, and then she's got for each of the motifs you need to make. I don't want to linger too long because these are paid patterns. She's got a chart and she's got written directions for all of the motifs. And then she's going to have, no matter what animal you're making, she's going to have a list of what you need. So for the Jedi, the curious giraffe, we need 16 hexagons. We need 13 pentagons, 2 heptagons, 1 square patch, 1 triangle, and 2 octagons to make the whole thing, okay? And then it goes right into putting them together, how you put them together, okay? But it doesn't show you how to actually join them. Where that part is way at the end. At the very last, there's an appendix here that shows you your joining tutorials, how to join the 2 motifs together, okay? So that's at the very end. So this shows you how to do it. And the previous part that I showed you is what order to put them together in, okay? So what I want to demonstrate to you is how to join them and how to join 2 motifs, and then how to join into a 3rd motif, and then how that relates to the pattern. All right, so let me stop sharing that for a second. And let me clean my glasses because I touched them. Okay. All right, so let me switch over to my camera now. And if you've got questions, do not hesitate to ask here. All right, so let's zoom. Yeah, let's try that again. And I had this all set up earlier. There we go. And then I walked away from it. So let's try again. And share. Okay. There you go. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So in the pattern, you've got your motifs. You've got and I'll talk about ends here too. These are pentagons, and I've also got some hexagons here that I'm going to join together. So the first part of putting it together, it has you putting together two pentagons to create the basically the foot of the hind legs of the animal, okay, whichever animal you're doing. And in this case, the giraffe is what we're focusing on. So when you're doing a join as you go method, and these are all completed through round 4 of the pattern. That was not crystal clear when we first looked at it because she gives you what round 5 is. But if you're doing the join as you go method, round 5 is your joining round. So you want to stop at round 4. I did have some, like Rocky this morning was here and she had done round 5, which we decided just to go with it. Hers are going to be a little bit bigger. It's like she has an extra round. And then we picked a joining color and we did a round on top of that. So if you've done through round 5, don't worry, we made it work. It worked out just fine, okay? She talks about, and I'm going to show it on this round 5. I'm going to zoom in. When you're doing a join as you go, you do have to start with at least one motif with a round 5 done. And the round 5 is a series of double crochets. And it starts right after a spike stitch here. And you do a certain number and you create essentially a corner space with 2 doubles into the same space with a chain 1 in between them. And since this is a pentagon, there are 5 of those. So it still looks rather round, but I do have, and she calls these the apex of the shape. And what it does is it creates a side. So here's one, here's one. Here's another one. It also happens to be kind of right over the center of the flower petal. Doesn't so happen to, it was designed that way. Here's another one here and another one here. So she refers to these in the pattern as the apex, and the parts between the 2 apexes or any 2 apexes is a side, okay? So what you've got to start with is I went ahead and I did around 5 around one of my pentagons. I don't want to call them pentagrams. You guys are going to have to stop me because I'm going to keep doing that. Let me get my hook out. Okay, so I've done around 5, which is doubles, and I've added the sides as it's written in the pattern. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take another pentagon, and let me pull up my pattern on my iPad so I've got it easily accessed here. And because it's a paid pattern, I don't want to show the pattern on a video because that's proprietary. But she tells you at that, where I showed you that appendix at the end of your pattern, where you're gonna start. And where we're gonna start is the same place where we started this round 5. And the pattern tells you round 5 always starts on top of the first single crochet after that spiky stitch, okay? That's where you start the round 5, you go all the way around, and then you slip stitch to join right there. I'm gonna do the same thing here. Let me zoom out just a little. Yeah, that's better. Okay, start with the slip knot. While I'm doing this, here's how I dealt with my ends. And Megan almost had a heart attack today as I did this. Let me find one that I actually did. Oh, this one I did. So I don't usually put knots in things, but there's a lot of ends here. You can weave them away. And if this was a garment, something that was going to get pulled and the actual piece was going to get pulled and stretched and washed and things like that, I would recommend weaving it away. But this is a stuffed animal that may or may not get played with. You'll know who you're giving it to decide that. Mine's going to be a shop sample. It's not going to get played with. And I took my ends and I tied knots and I trimmed them because it's going to be on the inside and nobody's going to see it. So I didn't feel like it needed to be particularly tidy. So that is a good TV project, is to to sit and do your ends, because as you're working this, and this is a good example, here's the first one I did. I have all these ends kind of in the way, and I can turn it inside out and go back and do it now, but they were kind of in the way as I was joining, and I've just shoved them all in. So I'll go back and I'll fix that part later. But if you've got some time, I feel like it's fine to tie off and just make sure I did like a triple knot and I trimmed it. It doesn't show through to the other side. You can take that with a grain of salt or as advice. So, all right. We're going to start around 5 on our second pentagon, which starts on the single crochet right after the spike stitch. And you can choose any of them. It doesn't have to be where you ended the last one. So remember, when you're working in the round, the top of your stitch is always just to the right. So right here is the top of my single crochet. So I'm going to join with the slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 3. And I'm going to work. You're following the pattern. We do 3 double crochets. So my chain 3 counts as a double. And then this next one is going to be 2 double crochets into this next space with a chain 1 in between. That's what round 5 describes. When you're joining, I'm going to do the first double crochet. And so I've created the first half of this apex. And now I'm going to join it to an apex on this one that I've completed the whole round 5 on. So I can pick any one of them. It's usually right here. So I've got, there's the chain 1 space. So instead of making a chain 1 space and another double here, I'm going to slip stitch. The slip stitch is going to act like my chain 1. And you're going to do it from the front, and it's going to feel awkward. All right, so I'm going to go into that chain space on my one that's completed. I'm going to take my yarn around the back, and I'm slip stitching, which means I'm just pulling it all the way back through. I'm trying not to split anything in the meantime. There we go. Okay, so I have slip stitched it to that chain 1 space there. Now I can make the second double crochet of this apex. And now it's a 1-to-1 join, which means, let me zoom in just a little bit. I want to join, you're always going to be joining with a slip stitch. So after you make, that big, after you make a double crochet on your new one here, on the one that does not have a round 5, I'm going to slip stitch into the space between the posts. I don't want to slip stitch into the top of a stitch. I want to go into the space between the posts of the next 2 double crochets. So there's the chain 1 space that we made for the apex. and here's the next double crochet, we're going to go into the space in between them. And what that does is it puts it on the same level as that chain one space. If we were to go into the top of the double crochet, it wouldn't be even with the chain one space. So let's do that. So I finished my second double crochet here. And now I'm going to look for, here's where I did my first one. I'm going to go from the front and just take that yarn behind and pull it back through with a slip stitch. And now we're going to continue making the round 5, but every time we make a double crochet, then we're going to do a slip stitch join to the other side. So I just finished my slip stitch. So now I could make a double crochet in the next, because you're following the directions for your round 5. And it's going to look a little gappy at first. Don't let that stop you. Here's where I did the last one. And I will say that as we did this morning, if you miss one, it's not the end of the world. Because what we want to happen is, as we're working this, we started here, but we started our join with an apex, and we want to finish with an apex over here, and we want it to match the apex over here. So the sides, remember this, the side is between the two apexes. So as long as we end up joining in between these over here, when it comes time to make it over here, we're in good shape. Hopefully that made sense. All right, I did my slip stitch and make my next double. So essentially I'm doing double crochets all the way until it's time to make another. And look for my next in between. Slip stitch and a double. Once you get one side joined, it does not flop around quite so much, because I've already flipped it, as you can see. So I've got to take that back, because now I don't have the right side facing anymore. Let's see when that happened. Probably right in the first one. Yeah, right in the first one. All right, so let's try that again. So that's the top of the double crochet, slip stitch. Let's keep those right sides up. And you're using such a small hook that it does sometimes want to get kind of caught in there. I found that if I just kind of loosened up a little, it pulled through easier. And then I could tighten it after I pulled it through. Now, if I've said that, it won't work. Try again. Keep catching another piece in there. Hold on. Oh, I see. There we go. Twist my hook. There it goes. Okay. Make sure those right sides are up. Make another double. You can see how it wants to flop over. Go into the next space from the right side. I think I say this on every video. The first row, the first whatever, is always a little fiddly, and this is no different. There we go. And double. And I'm just kind of looking. I can see I slip stitched there. So now I'm going into the next one in between the posts. Double. And here's how because you're going to be doing a lot of these, here's how I keep track of it. So slip stitch, this next one is going to be on top of the, excuse me, on top of this, of that spiky stitch. And I know that I'm going to do, because I've done a lot of these now, 3 more doubles after it before I make the next apex. So once you reach that spiky stitch, that's kind of your guidepost. So there's 1 double and a slip stitch, 2 doubles, or second double. And it's already getting a lot easier because it's not fighting me so much. And 3, and a slip stitch. And if I've done it right, and it's very possible I did not, the next space should be my apex. And it is, because I slip stitched here, and here's my very next one. So here's how you get to that. So the next one here, I'm going to make the first double of my new apex, double. And instead of doing a chain 1, we're going to slip stitch into that space. And then we'll make the second into the same space. So we have connected, and it gives it a little, kind of see a little bit of a raised, almost like a little bit of a braided look for the join. Okay, so let me just recap what we did. We did a round 5 on this one, all the way around, completed, cut the yarn, all done. Then on our second one, we started where we would start around 5 on the first single crochet, and we did 1, 2, 3, and we started to make our 2 in the same, which is called the apex. And after we made the first one, we slip stitched into the apex of this one, and then we made a second double in the same space, and then we slip stitched, made a double, slip stitched, made a double, slip stitched, made a double. Your slip stitch is always slightly to the left after you make the double, is how it works out. So now we've connected one whole side. Okay, our pattern tells us, and I am going to go back and I'm going to share this picture on the pattern real quick. Back up here. So that's how you join a side. Up here in the beginning of our pattern, for Jedi, it's so long, because she shows you every single step. So here's what we've just done. Okay. So here was the first, and these numbers on here are telling you how many petals. So this is a 5 petal, and this is a 5 petal. This is what we started with to make Jedi's hind legs, okay? So to make his hind legs, you need 4 pentagons and 4 hexagons to make the whole back end of him. So we started with 1 pentagon, and we did the whole round on it. And then she shows you where you're going to start, and she's got these lines. So this side, this green line, is where we did our first join. So we joined this side right here to this side right here. So this part of it is making we're really kind of making a pocket. So now we're going to join the next side to this side here, and then we'll join yellow to yellow. So everything's color coordinated. Join the green to the green, the red to the red, the yellow to the yellow. All right. And what you're going to end up with is, this is one side of it. This is the other side of it. and it's joined here, here, and here. And this part is open. And then and then here's what it looks like before we join the next one. So we're making like a little pocket. All right. So she gives you the where you're going to be doing it. And then at the end of the pattern shows you how to join them. Okay. So let me switch back to the camera. And I'll show you how that works. So we're really just going to keep, let me zoom out, sorry. And see the whole thing. Okay. So we've done our one side. Now we're going to keep going and we're going to join from this apex to this apex. And then we're going to keep going and we're going to do this apex to this apex. So when it's all said and done, we'll have this little pocket with an opening. All right. But the way you join is exactly the same. So we just finished making our apex in this new one. I'm going to go into the next, between the two posts, slip stitch to join, and make my new one. So I'm going to work this whole new side exactly the same way, slip stitching as I go, and it's much easier once you get those first few done because it wants to stay together. How tight you pull this is up to you. I did not, let me show you the first one I did. I did not pull super tight, but I do feel like I've got a little bit of, I feel like it's consistent with what I've done here. And these are the sides we're joining. And I'm happy with that. If you feel like it's too loose, you could pull these a little tighter together. You could go down a hook size if you really wanted to, if you were able to do that, if you weren't happy with the join. But I'm happy. I feel like it looks like the rest of my work, and I'm not particularly worried about the stuffing popping out. So I think the bigger holes are here. I don't have anything bigger here, but it gives you this nice braided look. All right. Here's one of the questions that came up today. I've just put this down. Have I done a slip stitch or not? And you will learn to tell just by looking at it. I can tell I've only done the double crochet. I have not slip stitched because the slip stitch is slightly to the left. And the last place I can see a slip stitch is to the right. If you really aren't sure if you've done the slip stitch or not, the easiest way is pull it out and you'll see, am I pulling out a slip stitch or am I pulling out a double crochet? And I just pulled out a double crochet. So put my hook back in, redo that double crochet, and then I know I can slip stitch after that. And slip stitch into next space in between the posts. Next. Well, I'm hoping this is making sense to everybody. I think once you really do it, oops. And Linda, I know you, once you get some pentagons made, if you want to come in and do the first ones together, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But I think this will be a good reference.
Yeah, no, very helpful.
Good, okay. I think it also helps make sense of the pattern because there's so much there and it isn't necessarily, I think it's in probably the best order it can be in, but until you really realize what you're looking for, you don't know. Okay, so I've done the one on my spike stitch. I know I have 3 more after that before I make another apex. I've done 1. And that's just from reading the round 5 directions. And go into here. Uh-oh. So here I'm coming up on an apex. So I must have skipped something. Let's see if I can figure out what I did. We found this morning that this was fairly easy to troubleshoot. So I'm going to do their, oh no, I'm right, I'm okay. If you find you are a stitch off, here, just, you could do slip stitch into the same space if you wanted to, and just see how it looks. Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3. So I'm already at the apex, but I'm not ready to join to the apex. So either I didn't have the right number here, which is possible, or I skipped one. I really don't want to go back and do it again. So I'm going to slip stitch into the same space again. And now I'm ready to make the first double of my new apex. Join it here into that chain 1 space. And make the second one in the same space. And then I'm going to stop and take a look and see how that looks.
You're actually joining the pentagons first.
Correct. Yes. So the pentagons make the foot, and then the hexagons make the leg.
Oh.
So even though I slip stitched into the same space twice, I can't tell. So I'm happy with that. So now we're going to do 1 more side to finish the joining part. Got a bunch of yarn here. I just finished a double, so that's over here. It's very fudgeable. That's my official word. And let's work this next side. We did get talking today, and I did find myself starting to like, oh, did I skip one? But you're going to be doing a lot of these. I think it will become a little, no matter what kind of piece you're putting together, it's going to be joined the same way because they all have a side with an apex. Let's see, I'm joined in there. Just depends on how many sides it has. It still would get joined the same way. And here. And there's 1. 2. 3. Now I'm ready to make an apex, to make the first double. And I'm right there at the chain 1 space. Perfect. And make the second double in the same space. And now I've got my 2 pentagons joined, and it's made a little pocket. Now, what it isn't always explicit is that I need to finish the round 5 on this side because I can't join 2 unfinished sides. You always have to join an unfinished side to a finished side. So I need to finish the from here to here, and then back to where I started. So I'm going to finish, I'm not going to be joining anymore. I'm just going to be finishing my round 5, which is just double crochets without the joining. And when I hit that spike stitch, I'll do 3 and make a new apex. So every time you do a join, you are almost always going to have to finish a one side or 2 sides of a piece so that a new piece can be joined to it. And that isn't always particularly clear in the directions. Okay, so there's my spike, 1, 2, and 3. And now I think that's right. Because then it should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So make my, so now I have to make my chain 1 because I'm not joining. I have to make the space. And then finish off this side. And slip stitch to where we started. Into the top of the spike stitch. And slip stitch. Top of my chain 3. Okay. And here's how I started joining these so that I could hide it my ends. I came up between the posts, grabbed that yarn and pulled it to the back since I wasn't going to be weaving it away. And now it's pulled to the back. I can tie it with my beginning. And trim it away. So this one I would turn inside out. I'll take care of all of the ends. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna tuck them in. And now we have 2 pentagons joined. And that'll look just like your pattern picture, 1 on each side with a little pocket, okay? Then the directions are gonna tell you to join a hexagon. So here's where the hexagon's gonna go. We're gonna fold this pocket so that we only see 1/2 of each of the pentagons. And our hexagon is going to get joined right here. Okay. This is what the picture looks like in the pattern. But because of the way we crochet, I've got to turn it upside down so that I can join it here. You're going to start it the same way we started the previous one. We're going to start around 5 on our unfinished. This one's a hexagon. It's got the 6 petals. So right after the spike stitch, I'm going to slip stitch. Join. My slip stitching's not stellar today. And again, it can be in any spot on here. Okay, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then make 2 more doubles. 1, 2. And make the first double of my new apex. And I am going to join it. And this shows you on your pattern to this chain 1 space right there. From the front, same way with a slip stitch. And then I can make the second double in the same space. Let me stop so you can see how this is going to lay out. So we started over here and we're going to work across here. I'm going to show you how to join when you come to a joined space already. And then I'm going to work this side, and then I'm going to finish the rest of this all the way around, just like we did on this one. All right, so I did my double, so now I can go into the next space. I know I've seen some join as you go videos where you go into the top of the stitch. She definitely goes into the space in between, which I think is a lot easier and has a lot cleaner look. And it gives you this nice braided top, joining. Come on. This is such a tiny hook for this yarn. It just wants to catch. Let's try one more time. I'm trying there. I'm gonna aim the hook for the other direction. Sometimes that works. Yep. Did it. Okay. Another double. So you're really always joining sides to sides and making sure your apexes, is that the plural? Match up. Join top of my spike stitch. So now I have 3 more. Let's did my double, I did my mix up stitch. And then slip stitch. And I will say that at the end of your pattern, that appendix that shows how to join does show how to join and where to join, and I'll go back to that in just a second. Top of my spike, 1, 2, 1 more. 3. Slip stitch, so I'm right before that chain 1 space. So I'm in the right spot. So I'm going to make the first double crochet of my new apex. And I'm going to slip stitch it to the chain 1 space on this pentagon. Pull it through. Now I'm going to make the second double into that same space. And this one, I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space on this side. So what that does is it really tidies up and keeps those corners where more than 2 things join together really nice and tight. And then I can go on and finish this side. So our pattern has us joining 2 full sides. So I've completed 1. And let me get down here to, let's see, I doubled. I'm just going to slip stitch. Okay. Slip stitch. Remember this, if you're not sure where, that slip stitch is always going to be slightly to the left of the double you just made. So it's going to be right here. you're always gonna, at least so far, and as far as I've gotten in the pattern, you're always going to be finishing the joining of a side. You might still have to continue around to finish an edge, but the joining is always going to be completed at an apex. Sorry, got off screen a little bit. Okay. All right, that's my spike stitch, so I should have one. Two. So that's 1, 2, and 3. All right, so now do my double, do my slip stitch. Yep, all the way through. Now let's make the first of our new apex. And I'm ready to slip stitch into the chain space of that apex. And make the second double into the same slip, into the same space. Okay. Then, so here's what we've, so here are our 2 pentagons, and we've joined this. We started our round 5 here, but we've joined 2 sides. And now what I need to do is I just need to finish all the way around without joining. And what you're going to get is something like this. So this was you have to make 2. These are the 2 hind legs. So here are my 2 pentagons, which I then folded and added my hexagon, joined here, here, and then I finished it all the way around. And then what's going to happen, let me show you where this is on the pattern. Let's see about the joining and where they go. So it's got the how you join. The first one is joining one motif to another, and she gives you very clear, you start your round 5 here. So 1, 2, 3, you make your first double crochet of your apex, and you slip stitch up here. It's got these arrows that point. Make another double crochet, slip stitch, double crochet, slip stitch, all the way across. So this is how you join any side. So that's the first diagram. The second one shows you these black stitches here are the ones that are already joined together. So we start the round 5 as usual. This is what we just did. And we joined and slip stitched all the way across. We got to the first double crochet of our new apex, and we slip stitched here. Oh, you know what? She has you going over here. And what I did, and I don't know that it makes a difference, I made my double and then I slip stitched here. She has you, oh, I really didn't pay attention to that. She has you slip stitching across and then making your new double. So that's, and she's got them all numbered. I should have paid attention to the numbers. That makes sense. So after you make your first one, you slip stitch into the chain 1 space of your first pentagon, and then you slip stitch into the chain 1 space of your second pentagon, and then you make the second double of your apex, and then you continue on as usual. Well, that would be explain why I was off on a stitch or 2, going all the way across. And then once you finish, then you have to finish the the blue stitches here, you're round 5 as usual without the joining. So that's what we've just done there. Now, even though I did it wrong, it still looks okay. Okay. So then you'll have 2 pieces. Now this one obviously has to be finished. Let me pull up my pattern over here. And what comes in next is, she calls it the little bum patch. Oh, I know what we have to do. We have to do the other side. What we have to do now then, I apologize, is, let me get another hexagon. What we need to do is then add another hexagon here. So we'll do it the same way that we did. So you can kind of pretend that that one's not there. We'll start our round. Cut my yarn here. So we're going to join this one on 4 sides. And when she says sides, she means from an apex to an apex. So available to join here, we have this side and we have this side, and this side and this side is where she wants us to join. So we're going to start. Let me start as usual here. Two, three. See if I can do the joining right this time. Okay, make the first leg of my new apex. And this one, I'll turn it over. Now I have to orient myself. Hold on. It's going to go right here. So let's find our apex. And you could put a stitch marker to help yourself out. But here's my first. So I'm going to be joining this side. That's 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So remember, always right sides up. That will definitely help. Into that chain 1 space, slip stitch, and make the second double crochet. And then slip stitch. Flip that so it's on the right side. Crochet. Slip stitch. I'll do this one correctly as we get to that corner. Slip stitch. Right, there's the top of my spike stitch. So I always know I have 3 more to make. Slip stitch. And slip stitch. and 2, and slip stitch. One, two, three, and a slip stitch. And that should take me to 1 right before the chain 1 space, and it does. So I'm going to slip stitch that. Let's make our first double of our new apex. 1, 2, and I'm going to get it up here. Slip stitch into the chain 1 space over on this side on the right. Get it to come through. I'm wrapping it and splitting the yarn. There we go. Now I'm going to go over to the chain 1 space on this apex, which is right next to it, and I'm going to slip stitch there. And then I'll make the second double crochet of that new apex. And then slip stitch to join. You get down to this one. Spike. And then we'll answer any questions and we'll talk about what we're going to do next time too. Spike 1, 2. I'm off a stitch, but I'm just going to put 2 into the same space because I'm not ripping anything out. All right, make my first double, the new apex, and slip stitch into the chain 1 space there. Slip stitch into chain 1 space of the next one. And then make the second double for that apex. Slip stitch next. So I'm going to stop just for a second. So what we're going to end up with as this is going to get joined here. So we've got 1 side joined, 2 sides joined, 3 sides joined, 4 sides joined. So we're going to end up with, and then we'll finish this one off without joining so that it mirrors this one. And then what you have is a complete leg. And then you're going to do it again because you need 2 hind legs. So here's what I think we should do. because I don't think anybody has finished all of their shapes yet, which is totally fine. For what I'd like to do in the next session is join more pieces together. So what I'd like to do is, and I'm going to refer to the giraffe because I think everybody here is doing the giraffe, is I would like to work through making the rest of the behind section and the waist of the body. I'm going to show you what that looks like on your pattern real quick. Because I think that boop, 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 boop. So she's got it broken down into, sections, making Jedi's hind legs. And she tells you what pieces you need for that. Okay, the 4 pentagons and the 4 hexagons and how to do it. The next is making the rest of the behind section and waist of the body. For that, you need 2 octagons, 1 hexagon, 1 square patch, 3 pentagons, and 1 heptagon. If you could have all of those pieces ready, then we can look at how to join the bigger pieces together. Because I think then that kind of gets us over the hump. And I think we'll end up going into December because who's going to be done? Not me. And we'll go from there and how to join them.
You're gonna post the video, right, Pam?
What's that?
You're gonna post this video.
I'm going to post this video as soon as we're done here. Yeah.
Okay. Because I have to go. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, we're just after 7. So
yeah.
I'm going to post this, but that's where we'll pick up next time is have the hind legs put together.
Okay.
And have the rest of those motifs ready, and we'll work on putting them all together then.
This is great. Thank you.
You're so well. I'm just gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna stop recording.